Welcome to the broadcast. Chile's presidential election takes place in a week. The latest presidential poll by the Center for Public Studies shows Michelle Bachelet with a wide lead in the race. According to the CEP, 47% of Chileans support the former president. Only 14% favor Evelyn Matthei, the candidate from the current government. Chile has been a beacon of light for its neighboring nations because its economy is the strongest in Latin America. But there have been some persistent problems. The candidates have become more aware of issues ranging from income inequality between the rich and poor to gay rights following the brutal public murder of a gay man 18 months ago. Correspondent Joel Richards brings us the important issues of this campaign in our special segment, The Chile Challenge.
Challenge number 1, political divide.
It's over 2 decades since the Augusto Pinochet dictatorship, but Chile is still reconciling with its past. This year's coup commemoration, the 40th anniversary, brought this divide to the surface. Allende supporters congregated at a statue of the former president.
They come to laugh at us. They come to jeer. It's a very big pain. They're always opening our wounds.
Meanwhile, inside a theater, a group celebrated the release of a new movie honoring the late dictator, Augusto Pinochet.
They should show more loyalty and stop this hypocrisy. It's as if General Pinochet were the plague, but he was the greatest thing Chile's ever had.
Protesters clashed violently with police as they demonstrated against the screening of the movie. They said it provoked confrontation between the two sides. Maya Fernandez Allende is the granddaughter of former Chile President Salvador Allende. For her, the wounds are still open, as many have not been able to find the remains of their loved ones.
I can bring a carnation to where my grandfather is, to where my mother is. My mother Beatrice died after. But there are families who to this day can't do the same thing in the place where their family members died. I always feel more sorry for them than for my own story.
Rodrigo Garcia Pinochet is the grandson of the former dictator, Augusto Pinochet. He's worried about the political future of the country.
He was a man with big convictions. Before being a politician, he had been a great soldier. Unfortunately, we forget the lessons we were taught. My fear is, given the fact that many didn't live through these days, that Chile will go down the road of polarization and that, God forbid, it won't end in another September 11.
The main two candidates in these elections, Bachelet and Matthei, share close ties to the military rule. They're both daughters of former generals, but their fathers were on opposing sides after the 1973 coup. Patricio Navia, professor at the Diego Portales University, told CCTV that Chile needs a new generation of politicians to rule the country in order to move on.
In terms of policies, there is a great consensus in Chile as to what needs to be done. But I do think there needs to be a generational shift, a generational change in Chile. The people who have ruled Chile over the past 25 years are people who were involved during the military dictatorship, in favor of the dictatorship or against the dictatorship.
Challenge number 2, dependence on commodities.
Chile is the #1 copper producer in the world. It accounts for more than half of Chile's exports. But while the world relies on Chile for copper, mostly found in the dry Atacama Desert in the north, Chile in turn relies on the world for the price of its red metal. Julian Alcayaga told CCTV how that dynamic has changed over the past decade.
The importance of copper grew in recent years, from 2004 when the price rose. 10 years ago, copper represented little, around 8%, but it has now risen to over 50% of the exports coming from mining, and mostly from copper.
But mining employs only a small number of people, and some analysts believe that the economy needs to diversify in order to keep growing. So Chile is looking to other sectors. Its wine-growing industry has garnered international recognition. Fishing, too. Its commercial catch is the world's 7th largest. But after a period of brutal overfishing, the government was forced to set up a quota system and now has fierce competition from its neighbours.
Here, right now, we're selling our output in Chile because the going price for scallops abroad has dropped so low due to competition from Peru.
Another sector is the forest industry, contributing over 3% to the national GDP. But its cost to the Mapuche communities has been high. Tensions have mounted recently as the authorities accused a Mapuche activist group of starting deadly forest fires.
Two companies alone currently hold nearly 2 million hectares, and yet a community of more than 1 million people who identify themselves as Mapuche only have the right to 600,000 hectares.
The Mapuche have little choice but to watch the constant convoy of lorries take their livelihood from the forest.
Challenge number 3, lack of energy.
Chile has been struck by power blackouts repeatedly. The country must boost its power capacity by nearly half within the next 8 years just to keep pace with consumption. The construction of an $8 billion hydro-icing project, which belongs to the Spanish-Chilean consortium, has sparked large demonstrations since it received government approval. The project involves building 5 dams and 2 river valleys in Patagonia and the flooding of over 6,000 hectares of pristine, largely uninhabited wilderness in a quest to generate more electric power for Chile's booming economy.
They want to profit from our region's hydro-energy potential and monopolize it to satisfy demand in the north of the country. That means carrying it by electric lines that would transform the region into an electric guitar.
But advocates say the dam's impact has been overblown.
It's not the catastrophe warned about in the debate, that Patagonia was going to be flooded, that the pristine scenery was going to be destroyed. The consequences are minimal.
Many analysts believe the controversial project is likely to remain in limbo. Chile needs the energy to power its mining industry, but also to meet consumer demand. The earthquake-prone country makes nuclear options unlikely. Energy is one of the most pressing issues for whoever wins the elections.
Challenge number 4, education reform.
In 2006, student protests broke out in Chile demanding a radical reform of the education system. One of the protesters was Camila Vallejo, a student leader that's now running for Congress.
This idea of privatization, the credit system to finance higher education, the change in management, the government's cowardice. Certain countries try to implement this model, but we've had it in Chile for 30 years, and it hasn't given us any good results.
Analysts believe student demands are for more inclusion rather than drastic reform.
They don't want to change the roadmap. They don't want to change the direction the country is moving towards. What they want is to be part of what the country has been doing over the past 24 years.
University professors believe the key debate is over the quality of education in Chile rather than cost. Joseph Ramos of the University of Chile told CCTV that not everyone agrees with the students.
And making it free is not going to improve quality one bit. But the cost issue is one that can be addressed either through freely or through the tax system or through a system of credit. But that's an issue that's really perpendicular to the question of quality, which I think is the central challenge.
But as far as the students are concerned, there must be a dramatic shift in education policy, and it's answering these demands that will put the winner of the elections under the spotlight.
Another recent study by the CEP showed day-to-day concerns for Chileans centered around health and violence. Accessibility to good public health services is one of the main worries for the electorate. And while Chile's crime rate is low compared to other Latin American countries, it's at the top of public debates. Coming up next, additional insight on Chile's future from Gallup.